Hello everyone and welcome to today's session, Bad, Good and Best Password Practices Preventing Dictionary-Based Attacks, Part 2, which is also our second session of this series. If you missed the first session, you can watch the same. The link is given in the chat section. And I am Ritika Chakraborty. I will be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few house rules. For our attendees, the session will be in listen-only mode and will last for an hour, out of which the last 10 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar to the organizers or our speaker, use the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio-video challenges, please check your internet connections or you may log out and log in again. And very important announcement for our audience. We have started the CPE certifications for our attendees. The criteria to get a CPE certificate, the attendee need to attend the full webinar and then write an email to cybertalks@ecouncil.org. Also, we would like to announce to our audience about the special handouts. Take the screenshot of the running webinar and post in your social media like LinkedIn or Twitter, tagging EC Council and use the hashtag CyberTalks. If we will find the first 10 audience and we will be sharing the handouts to you. Discover the enhanced CEH Volume 12 with its innovative learning framework. Learn, certify, engage, and compete to advance your cybersecurity expertise.
Is CEH worth it? This is a question that has been asked by countless aspiring cybersecurity professionals, and we bring to you information that is backed by real data collected from thousands of cybersecurity professionals that have successfully pursued the CEH. Their incredible career stories and honest reviews of the Certified Ethical Hacker Program is published in the 2023 CEH Hall of Fame report. The key findings of the report are: 1 in every 2 professionals received promotions after completing the CEH program. 95% of professionals chose CEH for career growth. 97% of professionals say that CEH labs accurately mimic real-world cyber threats. 97% of professionals say the skills they learned in the program were crucial to protecting their companies. 93% of professionals state that CEH skills improved their organizational security. 92% of professionals reported that the program helped them feel more secure in their skills. 92% of hiring managers prefer candidates with the CEH for jobs that require ethical hacking skills. 88% of professionals consider CEH to be the most comprehensive ethical hacking program in the industry. 80% of professionals started their cybersecurity careers with the CEH. So, if you're ready to jumpstart your cybersecurity career with CEH, the world's #1 ethical hacking certification. These cybersecurity professionals have undertaken a similar career development journey with CEH and are now working in the industry, including many that have successfully gained employment in top government agencies or even in Fortune 500 companies. Start your journey to success with the CEH today. Visit www.ecouncil.org/CEH. Become a certified ethical hacker now.
To know more about CEH, visit our website or write to connect@ecouncil.org. Now, about our speaker. Sergey is a security and cloud expert and instructor with more than 15 years of experience in Microsoft technologies. His day-to-day job is to help companies securely embrace cloud technologies. He has certifications and recognitions such as EC Council, CEH, CPENT, LPT, CCSC, CEI, CREST, and many more. Microsoft MVP, Security, OSCP, OSEP, ECPPT, ECPTX, Microsoft Certified Trainer, MCT Regional Lead, and many more. Sergey offer Sergey often speaks at local and international conferences like Global Azure, DevCon, Black Hat Europe, Wild West Hacking Fest, Security B-Side, Workplace Ninja, Midwest Management Summit, Hack in the Box, etc. So now, without any further delay, I am handing over the mic to you, Sergey.
Thank you for introduction. Just to help you to also visualize in my introduction, I show the slide. So let's move on to the content because we have quite limited time and we have many things to discuss. If you remember, if you've been to the previous session, which we call part number 1, we were talking about dictionary attacks. And you asked me to go deeper into some of those details. So what I would like to do pretty quickly, I would like to go through the content that we had before and then focus more on the things that you asked me to like just clarify a bit more. So we started from dictionary attacks, and they could be online or offline. And attackers, they can do it like when we want to compromise something online. It's one attack, and what kind of one type of attacks, and then what we want to then we can also compromise it in offline. So online attacks means that victim is online and we're trying to like brute force the password, which is quite noisy and suspicious because it could be detected. And offline, that's another way to do it when we get the hash and want to crack it offline. So dictionary attacks versus brute force. We talk about that brute force dictionary attacks are used interchangeably quite often. It's not really 100% true because brute force quite often use different combinations and not always the dictionary. So maybe they will take one word and then try to add number 1, 2, 3, and so on. So dictionary attacks use pre-configured list of words and phrases. Quite often dictionaries compile from leaked credentials. So the credentials we found before somewhere from compromised service already. So dictionary attacks usually use not only passwords. In our session, we focus more on passwords, but it's not only about passwords. So if you would like to enumerate something like domain names, you want to find hidden folders on the website. So all that stuff also quite often use brute force. I mean dictionaries. So if we want to like find out maybe some subfolders on the website, we can try to do it with some kind of tools like Deerbuster from OWASP, and we need to provide some kind of dictionary that will be able to find those subfolders. So if you want to find those quite popular dictionaries on the web, you first of all, for the password, very famous, I would say one of the most famous dictionaries is called ProcUTXT. Then there is a nice resource called SecList. Here you may find different dictionaries for different purposes. So if you want to crack password, so here's the list of dictionaries. If you want to like enumerate domains, here's another list of dictionaries. So here they are more like categorized. And very well-known service, I will talk about this service somewhere in the end. Have I been pwned? So that's the resource where you can find out, where you can check if your email was compromised or not. And so they can also offer you their list of passwords. So there are many ways to find out dictionaries, and so here I gave just the three the most popular resources. So to compromise the passwords online, to compromise online, quite often use tools like Hydra And for offline tracking, John the Reaper or Hashcat. For enumeration of the folders on the website, there's a Deerbuster, or some or tools like that, like a GoBuster, Deerbuster, Deer. And there is a tool called Potato, which combines multiple tools together. So just try to avoid complexity and just give like a single tool to do many things at a time. So that's what we had before. Now what I would like to do, I would like to go deeper into some of those topics. So first of all, when it comes to passwords, quite often they are not stored in the plain text on the service side. So even if the service was compromised or user account was compromised, but not the user account itself, but maybe on the service side, something was compromised, like a database of passwords, they should not be stored in the plain text. That may be on the service, or let's take the most popular service that we have on premises called Active Directory. So in Active Directory, we also don't store passwords in a plain text. So passwords stored as hashes. And so when it comes to hashes, we take original text, original password, and depends on the hash function, because there are different hash functions. This password will be like converted into hash value. So where can you find that? Let me just open that real quick. Let's open DuckDuckGo real quick. And so find something like hash generator. And let's click on the free online hash generator. Here I can choose the hash algorithm. Let's take SHA-512, and let's take the simple password like that. So let's say generate hash, and now we have quite long hash, which is hard to fit on my screen. Let me change hash function to something more simple. Let's like MD5. And now we have a bit shorter hash. So this value will be published somewhere on the web. Somewhere on the web. Will be stored somewhere in the database. And if the service was compromised, that's the value that will be extracted, not really published, extracted. So let me go back to DuckDuckGo. And so let me first go back to the slides. So mathematically, it is not possible to revert hash back to like original plain text. And because of that, there are different techniques that can be used to compromise hash, like a cracked hash, or use this hash instead of password. So let me show you a few examples. So example number one. Oops. On the right window. So if I look at the service like correct station. So open up. And so in this case, if I provide a hash, what it can do, and so here's a list of hashes that could be found, so different hash functions. So what it can do, it can find out the matches between my hash that I provide and the real password. Let me just go back to DuckDuckGo again. Open hash generator. Let's take like NTLM, quite popular NTLM hash generator. And take this password, copy that, paste here. So I'm not a robot. I'm not really. Stairs, verify, correct. Now we found it. Not because it is mathematically possible to find it, but because we use what is called a rainbow table. So what is in fact this rainbow table? So rainbow table is just a dictionary where we have not just the words, but we have also the plain text password and the related hash. So they have many hashes already in the dictionary. To be fair, in the Rainbow table, they work a bit more it's a bit more complicated thing. So there's also like reduction function that will speed up the process of cracking the password. But in general, it's just a dictionary with bunch of hashes. That's the first way how the hashes can be used. So it can be just cracked just because of the Rainbow tables. One more way how it can be used. Oh, I think I put the slide to the wrong place. So this one. So that's how a Rainbow table may look like. So you can see here like a password and the related hash to this password in the single dictionary. All right, so let me go back for the previous slide. And how also hashes can be used is by using the hash instead of password. So if you look here how Active Directory authentication works, and look at the first step. So when user signs into workstation, the password converted into hash. And so a hash will be used to encrypt timestamp that will be sent to the main controller. So the main controller after that will send the ticket to client workstation. But the password itself wasn't being sent to the main controller, so the hash was sent to the main controller. So that means, so if attacker knows the hash, attacker can authenticate without password. So this attack is known as pass the hash, or in this context, it's more like the name is overpass the hash. So when hash used instead of password, just because hash can be used to obtain the ticket from Active Directory. So all that stuff, that's the way how hashes can be used. Even if we don't know the plain text password initially, we can still obtain the password from the Rainbow table. But if not, it's still possible to use what is called pass the hash, to use password instead of to use the hash instead of password. So that's the idea of pass the hash. And the biggest question you had before was about password policies, so like protection. So in the previous session, we had like a lot of things, we discussed a lot about tools and so on, and most of your questions were about protection, right? What should we do? And I showed you like a slide and a few technologies, but mostly you asked about like what password policy will be more effective, how long the password should be, and so on. So that's why on this session I would like to focus on that information. So first protection you can implement is called multi-factor authentication. Not everywhere it's easy to implement. Of course, if you have some kind of online service like email, like a mailbox, it's not a big problem to enable MFA. But if we are talking about local workstation, Active Directory on premises, then multi-factor authentication is a bit more complicated. You need to use special software because there is no built-in MFA in on-premise Active Directory. So, but that's obvious that MFA helps a lot to prevent like 99 something number of attacks, of identity-based attacks. But what about password policies? That's what you asked me a lot about. That's what you asked me about that a lot last time. So what I would like to do, I would like to discuss with you effective password policies. And the first thing you may need to do in your password policy is to decide if you want to have maximum password age. So there are two things that may contradict a bit. First of all, the recommended number for maximum password age, so when user must change the password, should be somewhere between 30 and 90 days. So in this way, attacker has limited amount of time in which compromise user password and have access to, like, will give access to the network. At the same time, there is a recommendation from Microsoft. Current recommendation, what is important, current recommendation, so like a modern recommendation, is to turn off maximum password age. So don't expire password. But in this case, Microsoft has a recommendation: implement other security protection protection stuff, like password protection. I showed you that on previous time, multi-factor authentication, and so on. So when you implement other things, you don't need to disturb your users with the requirement to change password every 30, 40, or whatever days. But if you don't have multi-factor authentication and other stuff, then 30 to 90 days, you just need to find this number. 90 days is fine, so because in that case, users don't need to really change password every month, because when they do it every month, it's really inconvenient for them. All right, so first thing you need to consider is maximum password age should be from 30 to 90 if you don't have any special protection, any additional protection. But if you do, then consider to have non-expiring passwords, because it will be much more convenient for users. Next one, password history. So password history is that's the thing that enabled by default in Active Directory. So in this case, users will not be able to reuse passwords. So they will not be able to set the same password every time. So default value is 24, and you may just keep the default value, that's fine, or you may reduce it to 10 or 15. So any number is fine. So 24 is the default as far as I remember, and so it should be fine. At the same time, when you're using this password history, there's one possible problem. There's another configuration called minimum password age. And so if minimum password age is set to 0, you'll be in trouble. You'll be in trouble. So why? Because in this case, if you set it to 0, what users can do, they can change password immediately. And so let's say that we have password history, I get back to the previous slide. We have password history 24, and user want to reuse password. So in this case, if we have minimum password age set to 0, a user can just, when user needs to change password, user can change password 24 times in a row, like in a few minutes, and then get the previous password again. So user can just change password one by one, and finally change password to the, go through all 24 attempts and set the previous password again. So that's why minimum password age should be at least 1 day. So 1 day is fine. 1 day is fine. So it will not allow user to just reset password change password many times, one by one. All right. Next one will be length of password. So the medium one is 8, and that's what will be set by default in Active Directory. So you can make it better, but you always need to find the balance between the user convenience and the length. Also, in on-premise Active Directory, you cannot set minimum password length greater than 14. Yeah, of course, password can be much longer. That's not a problem. So password may be longer than 14 characters, but you cannot set the lower limit higher than 14 characters. So it must be 14 or less. But if you enable minimum password length and one more settings called password complexity, so in this case, that will give you much better protection from kind of online attacks like a brute force. All right, let me switch back to demo, switch to demo, and show you how it may look like in Active Directory. So let me just go back to go to demo. I'm going to open default domain policy, expand preferences, Windows settings, and account policies. So here we may find in account policies, we may find password policy. So click on that. And here we have all those settings. So all the things you see. All right, so we talk about that password settings. Everything here is by default. So by default here is 24 passwords remembered, 42 days maximum password age, and 1 day minimum password age. Seven characters for the password length, and complexity is enabled. I would say here, what is default? 7 should be changed to 8, at least 8. So 8 should be the minimum. And you can play with maximum password age as well to make sure that users are still feeling good. All right, so that's some considerations about password policies. If you want to set up like efficient password policy, but please keep in mind that about maximum password age, if you're using modern security settings like multi-factor authentication, you may consider to remove password age, maximum password age, and so users will not change password every time. It will be more convenient for them. All right, so next thing that you also should consider about password policies is the password for administrators, for your local administrators. One of the issues, one of the challenges that a company may have is that on every workstation we have local admin account, and local admin account must have a password, of course. And those passwords are not controlled centrally. So it's not like on every workstation there's a separate administrator. And how can we configure password properly? So there's a quite famous solution that's on the market for a long time. It's not really on the market because it's free, called LAPS, or Local Admin Password Solution. So this solution will automatically change password on every machine in the domain. I mean, when machine is joined to the domain. And so it will change the passwords for local administrators. Let me show you real quick how it looks like. First of all, there are two kinds of labs. There's a more classic labs that you may find in admin units that you must make installation first. I think it's in Windows components. And nope, and system. Yeah, labs. And so here I can configure that what kind of password must be configured on the workstation side. All right, and so I can also, so do I want to encrypt passwords? Can I like what is the name of the administrator? Do I want to have password some specific length? Like in my case, it will be 14 and password age will be 30. So every 30 days, password will be changed automatically for local administrators. Now, if I go back to the workstation itself, on this workstation, let me go to computer management. I have a user called labs admin. And to be fair, I don't know the password. So what I can do, I can check the password myself. How it can be done? Let me go back to slides real quick. And there are two kinds of solutions. So one solution is classic labs, when you have like a special GUI application, and labs must be installed additionally into your domain. And you must install client on every workstation. That's how we did it for years. But now if you're using Windows 11, in Windows 11, labs are already built in, and so you don't really need to have any extra solutions, any extra installations. So everything is built in already. So what you can do, you can just use PowerShell to retrieve that password. Let me just go back. Open PowerShell. Let me open PowerShell as administrator. Let me zoom it for you. No, it's a bit harder to zoom. All right, so now let's say get labs AD, I need AD password, yeah, get labs AD password, and then I need to also provide, nope, nothing. Then let's try to just write that one, identity, labs admin, nope. Then what is the machine name? Labs CL, nope. Okay, so let's say identity, labs CL. All right, so now what I'm doing here, it's showing me the password, but for some reasons, I don't see it because password is encrypted, and my decryption status is success. So what I can do, I can retrieve the original password from the secure string into the like a password value and use that to authenticate. So the passwords themselves can be rotated periodically, and also they can be additionally encrypted. And so to make sure that users that should not have access to password will not be able to decrypt, because here only the main administrators, in my case, can decrypt this password. All right. Hey, get that. So that's some ideas about labs, a local admin password solution that you should be considered if you don't use in your environment. Please start to do it. If you're not yet on Windows 11, you may implement labs like a classic labs, so what is called Microsoft Labs solution. But in this case, you need to install client on every single machine, and also encryption for password is not supported in the classic solution. So ideally, if you're already on the modern Windows workstation, in that case, labs already built in, and you'll be able to even use it in a more secure manner. All right, so let me go back to the slide that we had before. This slide. So password policies, I hope now shed a bit more light. What about the ideas? What should you do for your, what should you implement for effective, efficient password policies? There's one more thing, but a few more things about policy you may also do. Next thing is called passwordless. So I show you that when we had a previous session, that I can sign in without password at all, and I can use alternative authentication, like sign in with my phone, sign in with biometrics. So this is the next step, and that's what you should also consider like something that implement in the future. Of course, not every system is ready for passwordless, and there are still a number of legacy, especially more like a classic on-premises system that rely on the password. But if you can use somewhere passwordless, consider to do it. Especially when you use cloud services, they quite often offer passwordless. So you can just sign in to your mail account without using password at all. So if there is no password, there is nothing to compromise. Of course, the device itself, but in that case, you also need to protect the device properly. But nowadays, modern devices also offer protection with fingerprints and other stuff. So one more thing that also you may consider is to use password managers. So in this case, password will be, you may say like, oh, okay, but password manager, what doesn't make any sense, because still users may use the password manager itself may be compromised. Yeah, it might happen, but it might happen, but it doesn't happen that often. Plus, password managers store passwords securely. What is good about password managers? That password manager will create password with quite strong password automatically, and even if target system will be compromised, this password will not be crackable and won't be not reused. So user doesn't even know the password, so there's no way to reuse this password. So the key benefit of password manager is that users will not reuse passwords because passwords will be generated automatically, and users will not even know what kind of passwords they use. So there's one more thing about intelligent lockout policies. So Here I would like to jump back again to my demo and see if I can find it. I can find it here in Windows settings, account policies, and here below password policy we have account local policy. And so here you can find out lockout. So what does mean lockout? It means if user is trying to sign in a few times, like 5, 10, whatever times, and password is incorrect, then user account will be locked for some time period, like maybe 30 minutes. So what I can tell you, you should not enable it in your on-premise Active Directory, in your on-prem environment. Why? Because they are not, let's call it, not intelligent, and every single attempt will be counted as a unique attempt. In this case, let's say somewhere in some application have saved credentials of user and trying to connect to Active Directory. So pretty quickly, this account will be locked just because let's say user change password, but some applications still use the old password of user. Application will try to connect to Active Directory and lock user account immediately because every single attempt, even with the same password, will be counted as unique. So, which not very useful to be fair. So what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say about intelligent lockout. So if you're using like cloud environment, for example, in cloud environment, only unique attempts will be counted as attempt, and so user may be logged after 10 unique attempts, not when the same password, not when trying to sign in with the same password many times. So those will not be counted because maybe the old password just stuck somewhere in the application. All right, and one last slide, and then I will switch the question. Like one last thing, leak credentials. So what should you do? You should check your users if they have any leak credentials. So the most well-known is Have I Been Pwned? That's the most well-known website, Have I Been Pwned? You can easily find it on the web. Where can you check the single email address if any passwords associated with this email address, or you can even go for the main search and find out information about all users in your domain if they were compromised. There you can also test your passwords if your password is like strong enough and could be found in any dictionary. I mean, don't say your password. I mean, you can just take a random password and see if this password is already known by any of the dictionary, and so how safe this password is. So this service is very well known and give you the idea about if your account's already compromised. There is one more thing you can do, which is like I can't call it completely legal, so that's why I cannot really recommend you. I just want to say that this solution exists. Some websites, they give you online service with leaked credentials. Where can you type your email address and check if this email addresses have been compromised? But they also give you a password that was found in the database. So how legal it is, I cannot tell you for sure, because if you are checking your email accounts, like your company accounts, it's fine. So that's good. But in the same manner, you can check against like other companies and see if other companies have leaked credentials, which is not really legal. So it's somewhere in between. Have I Been Pwned will not give you the passwords that were found in a database, but it will tell you if your email address is known as compromised. All right, so now, as I promised, I will reserve some time for Q&A. And here we have a number of minutes for your questions. So if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat, and I will be able to answer them.
Thank you so much, Sergey, for the informative session, and our attendees shared the same sentiments. We have got lots of questions. Before we go to the Q&A session, today's webinar is in sync with our CEH certification. EC Council CEH maps to many ethical hacking rules in the industry like security analyst, information security analyst, certified ethical hacker, security consultant, site administrator, and network management executive. Anyone with CEH certification is eligible for 18,000 plus number of immediate job openings with an average salary of 90,000 to 110,000 USD per annum. If you are interested to know more, kindly take part in the poll which is going to be conducted right now. Let us know your preferred mode of training and we will reach out to you. Shall we start the Q&A session, Sergey?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to share the questions one by one.
Good. Do we have 2 minutes till the end of the session or more?
We have 17 minutes.
17? Oh, really? We have 1 hour for the webinar.
Yes.
Oh, I think it used to be 40 minutes. Okay.
No. So I have pasted the first question. You can start the Q&A.
Oh, nice. So I will be able to give you more demos if you want. All right, so the first question, in this cybersecurity, what is the steps to creating strong password that makes your details safe? Okay, so I would say it depends from which perspective, from the user perspective or from the admin perspective. Here in this session, we discussed administrator perspective. So if you're a security engineer, security administrator, then you need to set some kind of requirements to users, and they will be able, they won't be able to make password too simple and too guessable. If you are talking about like good password, if you are a user, so there are a few approaches here. First of all, as I mentioned before, there is a password managers that may generate passwords for you. That's the one idea. Second idea, you may use external password generator. Like you may just open the website and type password generator and click on password generator, whatever, of any service. Oh, 10 plus. Let's click on that one. So let's say I would like to have at least 8 characters, and now it gives me a number of passwords. I'm not sure if that's the right one. Yeah, that's the number of passwords. Of course, those passwords pretty hard to remember. And there's a question where to store them. And again, the best idea is to use password managers to store them. But if you want to really remember the password, then password should be, it's not just a single word should be something like a phrase that means something for you and doesn't mean anything for the attacker. Also, one more ideal thing, which may not always work because of quite often we use services in English, and so sometimes they don't accept password in the different characters. But if you can use characters on your local language, it will decrease number of attacks on the possible attacks on this password. Because, for example, if you are using some character that exists only in your language, then attackers from other countries will not be able to find out the right character for it. So your password will probably not exist in the dictionary. All right. So next question. How are you also able to deal with people trying to hack your online accounts? Okay, so online accounts means like something about the cloud. And I would say every or almost every service offer you first thing, MFA, multi-factor authentication. Second one, quite often you can use passwordless. All right, let me show you real quick. So I'm showing demos in my Azure account. Let me sign out real quick. And let me try to sign in again. So can you see the password here? So there is no password. It says I must type numbers on my device. I open my device, I type those numbers. All right, good luck. Try to hack me. I say yes. My device asks me for fingerprint. I provide my fingerprint, and now I was able to sign in. So there is no password here. If there is no password, there is nothing to compromise. Of course, you may try to compromise my device. That's a different story. Try to do it remotely. Online identities, they usually should have multi-factor authentication, and so at least you may start from it. All right, next question. Most applications demand a password or a password base. How do you prevent attacks implementing passwordless with the current application? So here's what we discussed in this section generally. So yeah, some applications, they require passwords. And I think the things we discussed here, like about maximum password age, medium password length, it should help you. I mean, yeah, of course, maybe application has its own password policies, and they are not centralized, so you need to configure them separately. But if application works in Active Directory and based on the Active Directory passwords from Active Directory, then centralized password policies should help you to prevent. I mean, not prevent, but should help you to decrease those chances. I learned that NIST does not recommend password renew regularly. True, and I even showed you a recommendation from Microsoft, which tells you the same. So don't do it. Let me again, since we have some time. Sorry, I screw up a bit with time. I think we had sessions 45 minutes before, but it's good that we have 60. Maybe I forgot. So if you look at the Microsoft password recommendation, best practices, password policy recommendation, you will find here that somewhere expiration. Yeah. So if you look here at about expiration, you will find that password expiration requirements do more harm than good. That's why current baselines from Microsoft, they don't require you to change password. But that's what I told you on the slide. If you do have other settings, then turn off password expiration. But if you don't, then you should consider to use password expiration, because like if you have multi-factor authentication, turn off password expiration. But if you don't have like those kind of additional protection, then password expiration. So your configuration is more like a legacy, and you should use legacy recommendation. So I agree with NIST, but it depends. All right, so next one, best password managers for Windows 10. So good question. I'm not sure if there's a good idea to promote any services. Let's say there's a free one called KeepUs. This one is free, and open source. But there are some other solutions that are online, they are commercial. You may read about them and decide which one you like better, which one you like more. I would say there's no built-in password manager, and the most common password manager, not the best, but the most common is Excel. But it doesn't mean that you should use it. All right, so is it possible to crack BitLocker password? I don't remember, and I also don't have BitLocker key. Good question. So there are some ways to get access to key, but on the physical level, if there is no enough protection on the physical level. So if key is not stored securely in UEFI, then not really the crack, but have access to the key, it's still possible. But the crack the key itself, I don't remember that anyone can do it. I don't remember that kind of stuff without physical attacks, without a way to physically attack the workstation. Okay, so please explain the benefit of securing local admin password on the device of a normal end user. What are the risks if we let user have local admin privileges? Oh, okay. So there are, to be fair, the topic that I covered about local admin passwords, local admin solution, assumes the key principle, which is called principle of least privileges. Principle of least privilege. So that's one of the key point in cybersecurity, I would say, when it comes to identity protection. So principle of least privileges. That's what it means, that we should minimize privileges as much as possible, and users must have permissions only for the task they really need to do. Why it's so important? For several reasons. One reason, let's take it from the threat protection perspective. If attacker compromised user account, and users, they are not always accurate, so users may open the phishing emails, they may provide their credentials somewhere on the web, and that kind of stuff. If attacker compromised user account and this account has permissions, at least on the local workstation, that's quite a lot. So if we have privileges on single workstation, then we can try to compromise other accounts on this machine, compromise software, move laterally, but maybe. So dump hash from the memory and try to find out what was the password, or use it for the hash. So if user has access to with local admin permissions on the workstation, that's quite a lot in the domain environment, especially. So yeah, that's from the threat perspective. Plus, if user just did something wrong, let's say user opened ransomware. So if ransomware was opened with highest privileges, then ransomware will be able to encrypt everything on the machine. But if or even on the network. But if user had limited permissions, then ransomware will be able to encrypt only documents where user have access. So we always should limit not only user permissions, by the way, but even administrator's permission. So if you are an administrator, like let's say junior administrator or administrator for a specific system, like let's say ERP system or database system, you should not have access to other settings. So principle of least privilege, that's the key point in cybersecurity and identity protection. All right, and the last question. Why doesn't account local policy works in mobile phones in case of bad USB attacks? Good question. If you don't mind, I'm going to answer. I have no idea. Next question. All right, that was the last question. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what. Oh, there's one more. Is there any way of having hashed password that cannot be found on the hash libraries? There's any way of having hash password? Maybe it twice. Yeah. So what can you do? You may go to have. beanpwned.com. And here you can try to generate password, for example. Check your password. Let's say I would like to test this password. Oh no, that password was found 136,000 times, a lot. Let me just take something like strong. Let me generate now password, something like that. Generate, copy that, and boom. Nope, this password wasn't found. So how to create a password that won't be found in hash tables? Create a strong password, because the source for most of them, for most of those tables, are credentials that already been used. So how can I create a table? We take a list of common passwords and hash them. So let's say if I download the list of passwords, let's say 10 top worst passwords. So take something like BBT test 123, copy that, paste here, and here's the hash. So this is my value for my table, for my dictionary. And so that's what they do. They take those known passwords and hash them. And so first of all, you should use a strong password. Second one, but it's not always possible in not in every system, is to use password salting. So I think we discussed that in the previous session. Password salting also help to prevent rainbow table attacks, because there's a randomization will be added to password. But the problem is not every system supports password salting. So for example, Active Directory on premises doesn't support salting, because otherwise it will break a single sign-on, which Microsoft doesn't want. And so yeah, in that case, for Active Directory, salting you won't be able to implement it. All right, so we have 1 minute left, and yeah, we are perfectly on time. Oh, that's good. Maybe next time I also should deliver the session in 40 minutes, and we'll have 20 minutes for questions. All right, so Q&A we already have. Now I'd like to say thank you very much for your participation. I hope that session was informative for you, and you spend your time, and the time you spent wasn't in vain. And my typical recommendation for after every session, start doing that. So start to make changes. If you found something that will be useful for your company, like, okay, maybe password age should be changed, maybe not password age, but like, let's say password complexity or password history, or you want to lift up minimum password age from, not age, but length from 7 to 8. So do it. Start to make changes, because information itself, it's good. It's good to know, but more useful when you really implement it. All right.
Thank you so much, Sergey. And before actually requesting, you have given your message to our audience. Thank you so much. And we have got so many good feedbacks for the session as well as like your other sessions. So
Thank you.
Thank you. So before we end the session, I would like to announce our next Cyber Talk session, which is Cybersecurity Career Roadmap, Building Your Path in 24, is scheduled for 24th of Jan by Dr. Christine Izuakor, and the session will be an expert presentation. To register for this session, please go to our website, which is www.eccu.edu/cybertalks. The link is given in the chat section. Hope to see you all on 24th of Jan. And with this, I'm ending the session. You all may disconnect your line. Thank you so much, Sergey, once again.
Bye-bye.